Hello everyone. Thank you for joining OpUtils free webinar training. Before we go further, I would like to just confirm whether you can hear me as well as you all can see my presentation. Just confirm this by entering S on the chat screen on your chat panel. So if I get few confirmation from you all, then I can go ahead and proceed further with the webinar. Okay, we got few confirmation saying yes, and they're able to see the screen as well as hear me well. Before we go further with the webinar, I just would like to introduce myself. This is Suresh Madurai. I've been handling ITAM all 5 modules been for 5 years. I've been taking care of support, product implementation and training, webinar and seminar, everything. And today we're going to discuss about one of the module in ITAM suite, which is OpUtils. This is going to be next 1 hour, and the training agenda, the OpUtils agenda for today's session is introduction about OpUtils. We're going to see what are the things, what are the modules we have in OpUtils. One of the module is IP address management. We call it IPAM. Using IPAM, we can manage all your IP address and other stuffs. And Switchport Mapper, which is the second module, we have it in OpUtils. We're going to see in depth about what is Switchport Mapper and how potentially we can use Switchport Mapper. And we have one of the best feature, I would say, in OpUtils, which is rogue device detection. Actually, you will be able to identify the rogue intrusion, and we can manually disable the devices from the network being getting attacked. And also, we have other tools in OpUtils like bandwidth monitoring and network monitoring. We're going to see a closer look into those features as well. And the last one would be a question and answer. I have my product expert, has been joined in the webinar. So in the last few minutes, we will be discuss about the questions which has been triggered from you guys during the webinar. And also we have our panelists who've been joined on the webinar. So during the session, if you guys have any questions about OpUtils, IPAM, or Switchport Mapper, you can very well written it on the chat screen, and our panelists will be able to address those questions immediately. And let's get into the webinar, and we'll see. Basically, OpUtils has a combination or integration of multiple modules. And using OpUtils, what are the challenges we can address as a network engineer? So the first thing, tracking and managing IP address and switch port in the network. It's one of the toughest job. Being a network engineer will not be able to have all the IP address which has been assigned to the devices, where reserved IP address or dynamic IP address will not be able to track it. So how we can use IP management to use efficiently to see manage and tracking and troubleshooting the IP address and switchport mappers related issues, and rogue intrusion and the network data breach. So how OpUtils can help us to identify a rogue detected device, a rogue device which has been attacked our network, and how we can take an action on the rogue device to remove it from our network and to protect our network. And also, being a growing up organization, it is really difficult to manage the IP address details and switchport mappers, and the growth. When it's in a new organization, it's getting growth, you will get new devices deployed in the network, or new IP address being added, and new DHCP scopes will be getting added into the network. So how we can manage, and it is how we use OpUtils to make it easy, and how we're going to keep up the network changes happening in the network using the IPAM and switchport mapper. So before going into each and every individual module, I would like to give you an introduction about OpUtils. OpUtils, it's one of the module in ITAM suite. If you guys have been using ITAM Op Manager Plus, we have integrated 4 other module. One of the module which is the OpUtils. OpUtils, it's a tight integration of IPAM, switchport mapper, bandwidth monitoring, network monitoring, as well as the rogue detection. And we're going to see each and everything, one by one. We're going to take a closer look into the features and functionalities of each and every module. And so, as I said, IP address and switchport mapper, management software helps the network engineer to monitor the switches and IP address space with ease management. OpUtils also helps. Integrated solution plays a very important role in detecting the rogue devices intrusion and block them if necessary. And it also has other tools, as I said, like we also have a bandwidth monitoring and config management tool, which can help us to take a config management, and in case any anything goes wrong or any devices getting corrupted, we can push the configuration back into the devices using the OpUtils. So we will see everything one by one. So all the 5 prominent features we have in OpUtils, we will see one by one in the product when we get the next slide. So these are the modules which we're going to discuss in next 1 hour. So before getting into the product, what is the prerequisite for installation of OpUtils? OpUtils can be installed in both Windows and Linux servers. It doesn't require a much server, just with a basic of 8 GB RAM core process and 40 GB of hard disk will be sufficient enough to install OpUtils and monitor your IPAM and Switchport Mapper. Also, it supports the database, which is PGSQL. It's an inbuilt database. Also, if you have MS SQL's database, if you wish to use it, OpUtils also supports the MS SQL database. And also, in the below link, you can go and check your system requirement. So let's get into the first module, which is IP address management. So IP address management, we call it IPAM. IPAM, it's integrated of DNS, DHCP, also with the ART table. So basically, integrating all these 3 modules in IP address management, we get the IP address manager. So we'll be able to, the IPAM provides the real-time visibility and control on your IP address at the IP protocol, and keeps tracks of all the IP address available, used and reversed IP address detail, and track the related IP address details. Hierarchy tree view, we have it to show the subnet-based view and view the status of the IP address at a glance, and Active Directory integration with multiple domain controller support, so it's easy to understand that the IP address or the user is a trusted user or non-trusted user, and also import the subnet details from the CSV files. Let's get into the product, and I'll show you how to add the IP address subnets and what are the features and functionalities we have in IP address management. So first and foremost thing in IP address management is the integration of, as I said, the Active Directory, DHCP, and DNS, along with the subnet discovery. So once we've done all this integration in IPAM, the IP address management, then IP address management will start monitor all your subnets and will show you all the used and available IP address detail. So how potentially we can use IP address management? Let's see. So discovering the IP address manager, the subnets in your network, it's very simple. You can go to settings, and as settings you have IP address manager, and IP address manager, go to subnets, and there will be a plus sign which lets you to add the subnets. Just give me 1 minute. So once you click the plus sign, you will be able to add the IP address subnets manually, or also you can import the IP address subnets using a CSV file. If you have more number of subnets, it will be always easy for you to discover using the CSV file. So you also have the sample CSV file here. Just click on it, it will get downloaded. You will be getting a format. You just use the same format in your network. What are the subnets you have? Just fill in the details in the sample CSV file, and then you can import this CSV file to get a discovery in the subnet, or you can manually give the subnet IP address as well as the subnet mask, and the name which you would like to give for the subnet, and if you have any VLAN name and location also can be given. So before discovering the subnet, IPAM will just do a IP check, ping sweep. It'll just ping all the available IP address and get to know what are the IP address on that particular subnet is being used, and what are the what are the IP address on that particular subnet is available to be used. All the information we get through the discover. So once the subnet has been added, so the subnet will be shown on the subnet tab, and if we click on the subnet which has been discovered, subnet will show the summary of your subnet. What is the IP address being used and how many IP address on that particular subnet, transient mode, and which has been ready to use in available state. And if you click on the IPs, you will be able to see the IPs. What are the IPs being used? And let me just get another subnet which will have a complete detail. Give me 1 minute. Okay. In the IPs, you'll be able to see each and every IPs on that particular subnet which has been used and the MAC address of that particular IP address. Since I said that it's an integration of DNS and DHCP, it'll also be able to get the dynamically changed IP address detail, and doing a DNS lookup, it'll be able to get what is the name of the DNS, and also it is capable of show you the DNS status, which means that during the NS lookup, in case if the NS lookup failed, or in either way, either the forward lookup or the reverse NS lookup, either one it's failed, the DNS status will show us the which lookup actually failed. So based on this alert, you will be able to take an action in case if the IP address being mapped with a different name, or the different name is being mapped with a multiple IP address. You can get a quick idea about what's going on with the IP address and DNS mapping, so that you can do the right DNS mapping on your network. And so you'll be able to see. So there are some devices. So these devices may be guest devices, but IPAM, it's even capable of identify what type of device it is. So since I said that it has been integrated with Active Directory as well, so all the IP address and then the MAC address will be get updated on the Active Directory. So using that inventory, so OpUtils IPAM module will be able to even show you the device type, and also the tight integration between the IP address and Switchport Mapper will show this device is connected to which switch in the network. So doing a simple scan would help you to discover the simple scan of your subnet, and integrating the DHCP and DNS into the IPAM will give you all the details and what are the devices being monitored, and in case if is there any alarm. So if you look at the alarms on that particular subnet, will show you for each and every IP address what are the problems. So the IP address for DNS lookup, the forward lookup failed and then reverse lookup failed. Forward lookup returns with a different IP address, so which means that DNS of this particular has multiple IP address. So you can check how single name has multiple IP address. So you will be able to easily rectify the DNS related issues, and history will show this IP address was connected to which device and which MAC address. All the details can be seen in the IPAM. So not only for subnet monitoring and what are the IPs being used, and also you can potentially plan your subnets. When I say plan your subnets, the capacity planning. If you look at the screen, you will be able to see each and every subnet and what is the size of the subnet. So 256. and what is the usage and status, everything you can see. So used IP address and available IP address. So all the status can be shown. So if you see, probably there is one subnet which is 192.168.1.13.0 in our network, which has been used for project team, and that team, it seems to be a growing up team where the team members are getting improved or getting increased. So that particular subnet IP address has been used 91%. So based on this, I can think I still have hiring going on for that particular project team, and that project team members going to get increased real fast in the upcoming days. So how I can make sure that the team, so looking at the subnet, I can see it's going to get over probably in a couple of days. So what I can do, so I can just go ahead and increase, change the subnet, give more value for the host, and just reduce the network, so that I'll make sure that particular subnet, the host IP address, gets increased, and when any new users coming into the network on that particular project team won't have any shortage of IP address. So the capacity planning can be done using the subnet scan. And also, one of the biggest tasks in being a network administrator. So there will be always IP address, to be assigned on a new device when there is a new team has been introduced in the company, or in the organization, or when there is a new device has been, added into a network. So we need to assign an IP address on that particular device, and we have to make sure that particular IP address is not being used by any other device, or it's available in the network to assign that IP address. So in most of the organizations, still they are using a spreadsheet to update all the IP details. So they will be having what are the available IPs they have, what are the IPs being used, and which IP address being reserved for which devices. All this is being maintained on a spreadsheet. So they have to go to the spreadsheets, get the spreadsheet, search it on the spreadsheet, and then check whether the IP address been available or not, and then assign that IP address to a device. And there are possibilities for a lot of man error. So during the search, to check whether the IP address has been available or not, and in case there is an error on the spreadsheet, or the search was not completely happen on the spreadsheet, which leads probably the IP address which was already used in the network can be assigned to another device, an important network device. So which leads to an IP conflict, one IP address being assigned on two different network devices, and that may lead to a huge network outage, or can cause any attack or anomalies in the network. To avoid that, so we have a simple solution, which is the IPAN. As soon as you add the subnet will be scanned and will get what is the IP address being used and what are the IP addresses available to use. So simply you can go and search the IP address which that you're going to use it in your network. I'm just going to search some IP address. Okay, I'm going to search based on the available IP address, and I'll get to know what are the IP address being available on that particular subnet. Let's take okay. It seems like the IP address, let's take say this 169.254.74.45 is the IP address is available in the network, and I have to assign this to a device. I just make sure this available this IP address has been it's going to use for the new device. So in that case, I'll go ahead and edit here. I'll make sure from the status available to used, and I'll click update. Then I'll just go ahead and assign that IP address to the new device. So in that way, we can make sure that always we apply the IP address which is available on that particular subnet, rather going and assigning an IP address which is being used on the network. So you can just make sure go to that particular subnet and then click on the IPs. I'm sorry, go to these IP address and then go to that particular subnet and then check which subnet has an available IP address. Then get that available IP address and you can click on that particular IP address, change that IP address status from here itself, just edit it and update it as used. And once the IP address being updated as used, then you can go ahead and assign that IP address to a new device. In case if a device has been removed from your network and you want to make a use of that IP address, then just make sure edit the IP address and change it to available or transient, that you can manually do it. Or if the device has been removed and there is no response from that particular IP address on the next scan, then OpUtils will automatically change the status from used to available. And so these are the features. Simple one scan on the IPAM using the subnet will give you more information. So how we can add the IP address? You can add it using the IPv4 address to the subnet, and you can name the subnet, subnet mask, subnet name, and then if you want to have a VLAN everything, you can do it. And you can integrate the DHCP scope and bulk addition, which is using the import CSV file. So let's take, as I said, the scenario in case of any IP address which has been already used in the network, been assigned to another device by looking into a spreadsheet, or the information has been maintained on a spreadsheet. Then it got a lot of work, like he has to go and check the IP address and manually update the information on the spreadsheet and assign that IP address to a new device. So doing this manual work will lead to maybe a manual error and can lead to a network outage. So to avoid that, using IPAM, we will be able to simplify. And also, as I said, it has been integrated with a dynamic host, the DHCP, as well as the DNS. Whenever the IP address is get released or the devices get a new IP address, the IP address will be get updated on the MAC address on the next scan. And also using the DNS, it will be able to get the new DNS IP address. So to do that, you can go to settings, IP address manager. Under the IP address manager, in general field, we have a field called DNS server name. So here you can add multiple DNS server. In case if you have your network, you can add multiple DNS server names separated by the comma. 92168.1.20. So like that, you can add multiple DNS servers. So using the DNS server, IPAM will do an NS lookup and get the updated name. In case if the IP, if a new device gets a new IP address, by doing DNS lookup, it gets the new IP address DNS name and will also get updated in the IP address management. And also, you have to do a regular schedule. So you have to add all the subnets and then do a regular schedule. So once the schedule has been enabled, most probably you can do it at least twice a day on a subnet. So I don't think like the subnet changes will happen that frequently. In case you can add at least once or twice a day, so that the subnets will be scanned every day twice, and then if there are any changes on the IPs and then DNS name, all that, it will get updated immediately in the IP address manager tool. And the next important feature which we have in OpUtils is Switchport Mapper. We call it as SPM, which is helps you to identify the switch ports and connected device to it, and the MAC address and IP address of the device which is connected to the physical switch port, and gain visibility into the IP MAC VLAN status and available ports of each and every switches, and view the operational status and speed of each and every ports, and also audit tracks the changes. What are the devices being connected on each and every port? We do have an history for each and every port, and automatically collect the MAC, IP, and DNS detail and get updated in the Switchport mappers on each and every Switchport mapper. And also global search is available on both IPAM and Switchport mapper, which helps you to search it in one place. It will show you that same IP address has been used where, and which MAC address, what is the name of the device. Everything can be seen in the global search. And let's see how we can add a Switchport mapper in or switches in the Switchport mapper. Let's jump into the product and I'll show you. Just go to Switchport Mapper and switches. There you have the same plus sign. On the plus sign, and you can add these switches using the SNMP. So we support all SNMP version, SNMP V1, V2, and as well as V3. So you can add the credentials here. So whichever device has been configured, whatever the SNMP has been configured, SNMP V1 or V2, you can create the credentials here and then go to Switchport Mapper and sign. You still have on likewise in IP address manager in Switchport Mapper also we have a group name on the hierarchy tree. You can select the group name and then add it and give the name of the switch and select the credential which has been created on that particular switch, and then click add a switch. That will add your switch manually into the Switchport Mapper. And if you have multiple switches, you have more number of switches where you don't have to do it manually, you can once again do it through the CSV file. If you click on the sample file that get downloaded as sample information, open the file to see what are the information has to be updated on the sample file. You can provide those information and browse it and upload it in using the CSV format. It will get discovered all the devices there in the CSV file or discovery process. If you know the range of IP address where all these switches falls into the picture, so you can just give the range of IP address, start IP address and an end IP address, and select all the credentials which has been created there, and then click discover. It gets discover all these switches in that particular range of switch. Once the switch has been discovered, you will be able to see all the switches in the Switchport Mapper. So okay. So once the switch has been discovered, it'll be able to discover the switch name, location where it is using the SNMP, and we have an awesome view where it will show you what are the ports. The graphical picture view will show you the ports which is showing in green color, those ports being used, and if you mouse over on them, you will be able to see the port number and up, what is the status, and what is the MAC address which has been connected on that particular port. You can see that information, and if you go to the ports view, will show you what are the ports are there and what are the device, what is the status, the available or used. The status will be shown, and each and every name and if index and port number will be shown here, and MAC address of the device which is connected, and the IP address which is associated to that particular MAC address. And also if the DNS name get resolved for that particular IP address, the DNS name will also get displayed, and that particular port is associated with which VLAN, the VLAN ID and the VLAN name, as well as each and every port admin status, whether it's administratively up or administratively down, and the speed of each and every individual interface, and was there any changes on the interface, the last changes, what happened on the interface. All this information can be seen under the switch summary view. And the alarms, you will see if in case is there any alarm, any device has been connected or any device has been removed, what was the IP address of the device, on which port it was connected, and when the device was removed or connected, new device was connected, all the information can be seen here. And This screen will help you to see what are the devices connected on which port and what is the IP address and if name of the device which has been removed. In case if any device has been removed, you can also trigger, you can configure an alarm and to send an email in case any device has been removed from your network, will alert you. We'll see that in the future slides. So once the switch has been discovered, it will show you the device's port usage, and the port usage which shows in red in colors, which has been critical, the most of the ports being used. And if the switch has been stacked, it's capable of stacking, or if it is a chassis kind of a switch where you can add more, blades to increase the ports in the switch, you can do it. So which helps you again for the capacity planning. You can forecast and see how fast or how frequently the port has been getting used on that particular switch, and you can take an action accordingly. So once the switch has been detected, so you will see all the switches and the switches ports view. So each and every switch and the devices connected on each and every switches can be seen in the port view. If you look at the screen, so you will be able to see all the devices, the switch name, and if index of each and every interface, and the if name. So like fast Ethernet, Giga Ethernet, the if name, and what is the port number for each and everything, and availability, whether it's been used or available to connect a new device, and what is the status, whether it's up or down, and if any device is connected on that particular switch on that particular port, you will be able to see the MAC address of the device which is being connected, and what is the IP address, DNS name, VLAN ID, VLAN name, and administrator status, as well as the if speed. So what are the things? Just connecting or discovering the switch port, and it shows all the ports being used and what are the ports being assigned is the only thing which I can do on Switchport Mapper. No, there are other things which you can do it. There is something called configure alerts, which is there for both Switchport Mapper as well as the IP address management. So go to the configure alerts. We have some predefined alerts which you can turn it on if you think that is necessary for you to alert in case any one of the configure the predefined alerts violation has been done. And also, if you think the port utilization falls above 80% is critical, then you can leave it. In case if you think 80% of usage in my network, it's pretty normal, so let it be 90% of ports being used on a particular switch, then just trigger an email saying that utilization on that particular port is cross the threshold value, and then you can simply clicking and one single click will enable the alarms, and then you can mention which email address that you would like to receive an email if any configured threshold has been violated. And also, it's easy for you to track any devices. So once the IP address manager and the switchport mapper has been discovered on the IPAM, on the OpUtils, you can simply do a global search by the IP address. Just go to the ports view and then do a IP search in case if you have any IP address which you want to search. Say for example, you're getting a new alert saying when there is a new device is connected to a network, you turned on when a new device is connected to the network, just alert me. And the IPAM is capable of monitoring all the network devices, and in case any new IP address or new device, new MAC address has been identified, then it can alert you. So using that IP address, you will get an IP address or a MAC address. You can check like what is this MAC address or IP address seems to be in weird network or via subnet. Just search that IP address on that particular field on the global search, will get that device detail, and if you click into that device, you will get to know complete history of that. So say for example, I've searched this 192.168.50.3, then I'll get to know what device it is and where it is connected, on which port it is connected, all the device details, so where it is connected, on which port, and what is the name of the interface, and on which switch it is connected. All the details you will get it. If it is updated on the DNS, you will also get to see what is the DNS name and what type of device that is exactly connected, the name of the device, everything. You can see it by doing a single search, the global search in the Switchport Mapper. So device change detection, as I said, when there is a new device is connected on a new switch port and it's a new device, or any device which is already connected been removed from your network. So the Switchport Mapper, it's capable of identify a change detection, and it can alert you when there is a device has been changed. So as a network administrator, you can go and you can update it on the spreadsheet, which is really a manual job. So here everything will get updated automatically, and we have one of the important thing which is on the Switchport Mapper is if any device is removed from a switch port, you can go to the particular switch and then you can click on the history to see what was the device connected on that particular device, why it was removed. You can see the device, and if it is a really important device which has been removed by someone else, and if is there any new device replaced with that IP address on the particular Switchport Mapper. Looking at the Switchport Mapper history, you will get to know what was the device connected, and the replacement of the device is really good or bad. You can check it. If it is some important device which has been removed without your knowledge, you can just go and take necessary action immediately as soon as you've been identified from the Switchport Mapper. And also, you don't have to do any manual work. These all things will be updated in Switchport Mapper automatically in the can. And the most important feature which I would say in OpUtils is rogue device detection. When I say rogue device detection, it will not actually detect any rogue device automatically, but there are some set of rules you can turn down that rogue detection, which helps you to identify in case is there any new device being added into your network. And you can scanning the routers and the switches periodically. If is there any new device and which is not there in your inventory, it's get added, you will be able to identify and you can take an necessary action on that. Say for example, let's go to the product and I'll show you how the rogue detection will happen. So you have, you can manually add the devices. Probably being a network administrator, you will have all the MAC address detail which has been used in your network. You will have it on a spreadsheet or something. You can just browse that information and then you can add all the MAC address details which is being used in your network. And once that has been imported into IPAM, all the devices which is there in that particular CSV will be marked by default as a trusted devices. In case if any new device has been added, that will automatically go to the discover status. It will not move into trusted, but on the alarms we have excuse me. So you have a new system is detected and guest validity expired or spoofing is detected. These three are the major thing which we need to keep an eye on, being a network administrator. When there is a new system has been detected, and if it is a new inventory which has been given by you, you will definitely have a detail about that MAC address and all the detail, what device it is. In case of the device which is newly added into the network, and you're not sure what device it is, you can just go, once the device has been added, you will get a notification. You can just go to the inventory, the Switchport Mapper. As I said, you can search it using that IP address and you get to know what is the MAC address of the device, and you can check whether that device is a trusted device or not trusted device. In case if it is a not trusted device, you can immediately mark that device as rogue by selecting the device, and then you can mark it as rogue, so the device will not be get added again. And in case, say for example, there are some devices which can create an attack or some anomalies can be, or say for example, there are some devices which can generate PDUs saying that I'm the bridge switch in your network, and any switches, any traffic which is supposed to go, that has to go through my through me. I'm the root bridge on your network. So something like a PDU can send, and it can cause a big attack on your network. So if you identify some new devices which is connected to your network and which is creating a big problem on that, you can see the MAC address and which it is connected on, which port it is connected. So you don't have to go into the device physically and get it removed. You might be few blocks away from the device, or you may be a few floors away from the the device where it is located. So it takes long time to go to the device and check physically where it is connected and remove. But using IPAM, you can get to know if it is some device which is causing a big network outage in your network. Just select that particular device using a right community. Since you're a network administrator, what is the right community is configured on that switch, whether it's SNMP or V1, V2. Simply give that and do block that port. So OpUtils, it's capable of the particular rogue detection. It's capable of logging into the device using the right community and just administratively shut down the interface, which takes really few seconds to protect your network being attacked from any anomalies, or it can cause any network outage. The rogue detection, which helps you to save your network real faster. So as I said, it's the ability to mark a device as trusted, a guest, or rogue devices when status of the device being changes or a new device being detected. Then OpUtils, the rogue device, is capable of even block the particular device from the network. Also, I have shown you how you can import the inventory or the list of devices which is there in your network. So the real-time scenario, as I said, if there is a new device which is connected to an interface and that is causing a network outage, or some attack has been happening, or R-proofing, it's OpUtils identify a device which is being used same IP address, two devices. Then you can go and check in the row if you think that the device which is using the same IP address which is being used by another device, you can simply block that device. And these are the three major features. And also, I won't say this is least, but this is also one of the best features. We have it in OpUtils, which is bandwidth monitoring, configuration file manager. So bandwidth monitoring, when I say whatever the switch has been added in Switchport Mapper, those devices interfaces will be periodically monitored using the SNMP, and it will be able to show you the bandwidth usage based on speed, volume, and RxTX. You can configure your thresholds on each and every bandwidth, the interfaces, and if is there any violation on the bandwidth utilization, OpUtils is capable of send you an email notification, and you can take a look into the interface, what's causing the bandwidth usage, and take an action accordingly. And network configuration file manager, which is we have a limitation on that because it is supports only for the Cisco devices, and which helps you to take the configurations, running configurations, startup configuration backup periodically, and it can store it in case if you want to backup and restore the configuration, which make the job very simple by doing few clicks in the product, which will push the configuration back into the devices to bring back your network up and running. And these particular features, it's available only in standalone OpUtils. As I said in the beginning of the webinar, OpUtils, it's integrated with Op Manager Plus. It's one of the module in 5. So if you install it, if you use it as one of the feature and one of the module in Op Manager Plus, then you won't see this. If you install OpUtils as a separate tool, then you will be able to see all this. So all this, apart from this, we do have other things which is helps you to troubleshoot your network things, which is SNMP tool and Cisco tools, diagnosed and network monitoring tools, address monitoring. So let me take to the product and show you a real quick look about this. So what are the ping tools we have? Ping. So in case if you want to know the IP address which has been used or not, you can just simply put the IP address and ping will get you the status, and you can do SNMP ping just by configuring the SNMP to know whether the SNMP works and what is the devices and what is the response, everything you will be able to see it on the SNMP. Proxy ping, you can give the proxy service detail. The read community doing a proxy ping will let you know the proxy server is up and running and trace to. And we do have other tools for check your WMI queries, CLI queries, address monitoring, which helps you to resolve IP to MAC address and MAC address to IP address DNS resolver. You can check that some IP address been added in IP address management or Switchport Mapper, but it may not show you the DNS name. In such case, you can just enter the IP address here. Just click resolve, that gets you know whether the IP addresses get dissolved or not. And also we have a new feature, which is the DHCP scope monitor. This is not like an integration which has happened on the DHCP in IPAM. This is just to know what are the scopes has been configured on that particular DHCP server. By using SNMP, you will be able to get all the scopes which is configured on the DHCP server. MAC to IP list, you will be able to see. Likewise, we have SNMP tools, the graph, MIP browser, MIP viewer, SNMP walks. There are so many other tools. Also, it's integrated with the module OpUtils, which really helps you to troubleshoot in future, in case you have any issues in your network. And we can schedule, as I said, all this has to be scheduled. So IP address manager, Switchport Mapper, everything has to be scheduled periodically so that everything will get updated. The used IP address and available IP address detail, used port and available port detail, everything will be scanned manually and mapped to IP address. You have to add all your routers into the OpUtils so that it uses the ARC table to get what are the IPs been used with what MAC address. And also we use some SNMP OID to get the show MAC address table detail and get updated the Switchport Mapper. So the scanning on each and every module, it's most important thing to keep your network updates on OpUtils. And also you can configure alerts. Each and every module, if you go to settings and each and every modules, you will have configure alerts. So you can, by clicking on a simple one, turned on by clicking one single click, will turn on all the necessary, whatever thing you think like it's necessary to turn on, you can turn on those alerts and set the email address. So OpUtils can monitor those particular violation and can alert you. And monitoring and alerting, it's not the only purpose. Also, we should have reports. OpUtils by default have predefined reports by used IP address, unused IP address, reverse and static IP address. All those predefined IP addresses there. You can just generate the report by clicking on it, or you can schedule it to send the reports to your email address on the scheduled time. And also we have the websites. Just make a note of this, presentation. The PPT will be sent across to you all who have joined the session. You can use it and also you can share it to your friends, colleagues who missed to join this webinar, so they can make a use of this, and you can go to those support links. And always, like on the webinar training session, we will have few questions. Some questions being asked by the users who join in the webinar, and we have just picked a few questions which we felt like an important question that would be good to share to all the users who joined the session. And for the question and answer, I have one of my product expert who's joined the session, been there in the panelists for quite some time. He's going to take care from there, and he will just show you what are the questions being triggered in the chat, and he will explain you about those questions. I'll just put it across to my colleague who's Srikanth. He will proceed further from here.
Thank you, Suresh. Hello, everyone. My name is Srikanth, product expert from OpUtils and one of the panelists for today's free training. I hope this session was informative. So let's quickly move on with our question and answer session. So the first question we have here is, my switch is not listed in the supported list. Can I still map it with OpUtils? Yes, you can. As far as this switch supports the SNMP and responds for the bridge MIP, which consists of the OIDs that needs to be fetched for the details that we have for these switches, you can add those switches into the OpUtils. So with this, we'll move on with our next question. The next question is, Switchport Mapper does not show all the ports of the switch. When you add a switch into the OpUtils using the SNMP, the switch should respond for the bridge MIP, and it will list out the MAC addresses which gets resolved based on the output response we get from the respective switches. However, if you can go back to the Switchport Mapper and click on Show All Interfaces, it will list out all the ports. But in order to get their resolved MAC addresses, we need an appropriate response for the bridge MIP, which should be sent from the device for the SNMP packet request sent from the OpUtils. So the next question we have here is, does IP address manager support managing IPv6 addresses? Yes, IP address manager does support IPv4 as well as IPv6 addresses. The next question we have is, how is OpUtils licensed? As we know, OpUtils consists of two tools, that is IP address manager tool and another one is Switchport Mapper tool. Both of them are marked on different parameters. If we have IPAM, which is IP address manager tool, it is based on the number of IP addresses that you have added into the application and you're managing to monitor it. On the other hand, the Switchport Mapper is based on the number of port counts that you have managed and monitoring the status of respective ports within a switch. With this, we'll move on with our next question, that is, can any network devices and servers be monitored using bandwidth monitor? As far as a device supports SNMP, we can monitor any device for the bandwidth monitor to know the status or the utilization of the interfaces. And using the network monitoring, you'll be able to monitor the availability of those parameters also. The next question we have is, when I add a subnet to IPAM for the first time, it does not show any IP addresses available, though I have free IP addresses available in my subnet. Whenever you add a subnet into the IP address module, what happens is the used IPs will be stated under used state, whereas the not used IPs will be placed under transient state. This behavior is happening because not all the IP addresses will be free. Some may be down due to network issues or maybe other circumstances. So based on the number of scans and the outputs of the scan, if the IP is really available, then it will be placed under the available state. With this, we'll move on with our next question, that is, can I use config file manager to backup HP and Juniper switches? Unfortunately, this config manager is limited to only Cisco devices. However, in future we may work it out and we'll be planning to bring this HP and Juniper switches support for the OpUtils. So with this, we have come to the end of the training today. Thank you so much for everyone for attending the training. Have a wonderful day.